What is up, my beautiful gemstones? Welcome back to Tuesday's Afternoon Talk. And this time we have the whole crew together, plus a very special guest that I'm really excited to have on with us this afternoon. It's hard to get guests for the afternoon show, and I'm just really pleased. And again, so excited. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this one. Lotus Girl, all right, sweetheart, I hope you're listening at least if you can, or come back later. The Bat Mom, hello. Why are you screaming at us? What happened? April Vreekin, new to the stream. Well, welcome, and glad that you're here. Diane Boss, what's up, sweetheart? Yeah, Edna, what's up, girly? We're going to let some people trickle in. I'm going to give you the bio of our guest. And I'll give it again later for people who may miss it. So Miss Jo West is a psychic medium and eclectic witch. She works with dragons, fairies, Hades, Persephone, and aliens. So extraterrestrials, you guys right up my alley. She does tarot, psychic, mediumship, and past life readings. She also helps paranormal teams with their investigations. I am so excited because I always say I'm not a psychic and I can't do the past life thing unless I accidentally somehow get a vision when I connect with someone. And those are two things I'm so interested in. I don't know anybody else who has ability like that in my personal or even really my professional circle. So having Jo on with us is just really, really exciting for me, important to me. And I hope that you guys enjoy the show as much as I know I'm going to. We also have Ryan and Ghost Dragon ZW back from the summer I gave them off. Now I'm going to whip them into shape and no more days off for the rest of the year. I'm just kidding. Carl, what's up, girl? All right, let me bring in everybody. Let me bring in Ghost and then Ryan, and then we'll bring in our extra special guests. Hey, Ghost.
Hello. I'm all screwed up again.
You're a little laggy. Maybe once I bring everyone else in, if you want to try to. Nope, there you go. You're good. You're good. Mine was doing it too. I didn't turn the Wi-Fi off on my phone.
Sometimes if you refresh, it does it, but.
Howdy.
There he is. He's back.
Diane.
They're back.
We're
Got
back.
my guys back. Yeah, I know, right?
I'm not back. I'm just a ghost sitting here. You just think I'm here.
With a sister, a mother, a grandmother, and a second grandmother who was my grandma's best friend named Carol Ann. I'm very familiar with that movie. All right, nice. Let's bring her in. Miss Jo West, psychic medium, eclectic witch, and so much more. Hi, welcome.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
We tend to talk over each other in the stream because there are a lot of us. Don't worry about that. It's not like we don't look at it as impolite. If you have something to say, just jump in. I'm going to do my best to. Oh, there she is. There's Mom. I told you my mom would be.
Mom.
Yep. Hey, Mom.
I'm going to do my best to, give everyone a chance to talk. You are one of the first guests I've had on here. I think Ryan was the first, and he ended up staying with us, and now you. So I'm a little new to interviewing, but just tell us, I guess we can start off by you just telling us a little bit about yourself and how you came to realize your abilities. Like, what age were you and how did you feel about it? Whatever you want to tell us, just give us a little bit about you.
Okay. So I think everyone feels like there's something in them that makes them special. And I feel like I've always felt that even from before my first experience. And I know even when I was younger, like at least 5 or 6, I always saw, imaginary friends, and that, colors, auras, all that kind of stuff. Of course, when you're a kid like that, you don't know what that is. And I grew up in a very small town of only like 400 people. So my family's completely open and non-judgmental and everything, but like I said, growing up as a kid, everyone has imaginary friends and all that stuff. So you don't really think much about it. My first alien encounter was when I was like 4 years old. We had, well, there was a swing set out in the front yard that I played on. And the next day, me and my sister go out to the balcony of our house, and I'm looking out there. And like I said, I'm only like 4. And I'm like, where's the swing set? She's like, what are you talking about, Joe? There's no swing set. We've never had a swing set. I'm like, no, we had a swing set. So it wasn't until later that I now see the alien standing beside the swing set and watching me. So I'm still unsure to this day if it was something that happened on Earth or if he pulled me into a different dimension. That I'm still unsure of. But that was my first alien encounter. And then my first memory of a spirit coming to me was when my dad passed when I was 13. And it was either that night or the next day or the next night. I was laying in bed and he came to me and held my hand and said, "It's okay. I'm okay." And I must have screamed out in my sleep or something because my mom came over and said, "What was the matter?" And I said, "Dad just came to me. He held my hand, said everything's going to be okay." And she just looked at me and she said, "Okay. Okay."
Nice.
So yeah, so that was my first memory of an actual spirit coming to me.
I'm just taking notes so I
Yeah.
don't forget anything. The one thing that stood out to me immediately was you were saying your first experience with extraterrestrials was at 4 years old. And
Yeah.
I hear that age so often. It's when I remember my first encounter with a full body apparition, when I remember things becoming different. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a part of me that's like, okay, most of my memories start at around that age. And I think most people, some people have the ability to remember the womb,
Right.
no exaggeration, they really do. I
Mm-hmm.
think that 4 or 5 years old is when most of us will start remembering those things. And I always wonder, was it happening before that?
Yeah, I think, and I could be totally wrong because science is not my forte at all.
Me either.
But I believe like you start forming memories, I think around 3, but I think they start sticking around 4. So that would make total sense, why we remember things at around that age.
It's basically everyone I've talked to until finally one day I was like, what is it about that age? And then I looked into exactly what you just said. It's like most people start remembering at that age. And one other thing I wrote is, do you know what type of ET it was, or was it just all different? Was it like, because I know for me, when I have extraterrestrial interaction, and I'm starting to realize I've had it my whole life, it's not always like it looks like a gray or it looks like a mantis, or sometimes it's just this energetic thing that I know innately to be extraterrestrial. So
Yeah.
are we talking all different types, or is there one specific type that you tend to have interactions with more than others? Or
I have a lot.
a lot, so many.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one in particular was tall, skinny as far as arms, legs, torso, all that. Bigger head, so similar to how people describe aliens, that type of regular look. Now I do have a driver alien. He's like my Uber driver. So when I go into I have taken trance before, and when I start getting into that state, the one time he came over, picked me up and everything, and I could literally hear, because I saw these triangles, and I could literally hear the whoosh, whoosh, whoosh as we're passing through the triangles. And then when I came out of trance, he lowered a staircase for me and like came back down to earth.
Wow.
And he's the he's always there to transport me wherever I need to go. So I just call him my driver.
So he's like a guide, kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Guide through.
Yep. He takes me wherever it is I need to go.
So I want to give Stephen and Ryan a chance to ask you some questions. The one thing Edna brought up, though, that I thought was interesting, because it was one of the things I had written down. She said at the time, I thought everyone had the ability, talking about herself when she was smaller and started opening to all of this. And I wrote, yeah, when you think everyone's imaginary friend is as real as yours. Right. So when, you know, your little sister or your neighbor, they're like, oh, my imaginary friend, you think in your child's mind that they are seeing a physical, tangible being like you're seeing. Right. For me, it didn't hit me till I was like 14 what exactly was going on. Like this, you know, this was the dead. And it was a lot. But I think that there was a reason it was that age for me, too, is because that was when I was best able to handle something like that. I don't think I would have been able to handle it at like 9, you know?
Yeah.
What about you guys, Ghost?
It was probably about 4 or 5. It was in kindergarten when I noticed that I was seeing stuff that nobody else was seeing. And I knew that I was the only one seeing it because of the way I got reactions when I brought it up.
No, I meant, do you have questions for
No, I don't have questions. Not at the moment, at least.
But no, I like I said, I feel like that's like everybody, pretty much everybody with ability. Ryan?
Yeah, actually, do you have any idea what attracted those aliens to you?
Probably my personality, even at that time. I just the way I look at things is I feel like whoever it is that we're drawn to work with, they are drawn to you for a specific reason, you know. So if I had to say like why that was, I feel like it's the possibility of them being out there and being open to it, because even to this day, my sister that was there, she's 11 years older than me, and even to this day she swears there was not a swing set. I swear there was a swing set. So, you know, it's just that's just what we stand by. So I think it's that thing, knowing that, hey, there is other things out there. There is the possibility of that. And especially to imprint that on someone younger, I feel like it's easier to let their minds be more open to that.
And they recognize, just to add to that, they recognize, Ryan, I believe wholeheartedly that they recognize something in your energy. So a specific ET will recognize something in a person that it wants or needs to or has to, for whatever reason, abduct. If you're going to be doing things like transporting, guiding, a lot of people have extraterrestrial guides. People think spirit guides, they immediately think a deceased person or an angel. A lot of people have extraterrestrial spirit guides. They just don't recognize them as such because the ET will take, like I said, for me, before I had any memory of any of this, I thought my spirit guide was just an energetic being, just made of lights and beautiful energy. When now I come to find out it is an extraterrestrial being, I just was not ready to handle that. I've been terrified of outer space my whole life. Everything having to do with outer space, I didn't want to watch anything. I didn't want to, even Star Wars, I didn't want to. And now I realize it's because of suppressed memories that I'm still dealing with. So Nutslap, this lady, her name is Jo, and I should have put, I don't know if her name's there, should have put her name on here. I apologize for that. My first time doing a real interview. I'm late, but does this lady, so Jo, do you have a YouTube channel or services to offer? Nutslap is our, her name is there. Please, sir, show some respect. Nutslap is our resident crazy person, I would say.
That's right. I just love the fact that his name is Nutslap, but then he said that's not a dirty question.
Yeah, well, he has to clarify because of his name. He is, I would say the closest of any of my subscribers. If I were a male, I would be him completely and totally. But I'm going to give you guys all that information as the show progresses, where they can find you, how they can contact you for services. I'm interested in a particular service of yours. And I'm going to tell you why. As a medium myself, I cannot make connection to, I've got 4 loved ones that have passed throughout my 41 years. And for me, I feel like when I tell clients, you know, grief builds this wall that will sometimes block you from having interaction with a loved one that's crossed over. Even if they're reaching out to you, sometimes you are just so blocked to seeing it. I feel like that could be the only explanation as to why I can't see, contact, communicate with my own dead, my own 4 that like I want more than anything to talk to, just like I speak to the other spirits that come and go, and the spirits that I talk to for clients and friends, and the ones that pop up behind the cashier at the grocery store.
Right.
Do you have that as well? Or when someone that passes, you can immediately make contact with them?
I haven't. So my nephew, he passed away in 2006 at the age of 23. And I saw him 4 days prior to that. Him and I were very, 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 very close. His mom is the sister that did not see the swing set. And so he was more like a brother to me. And literally the day he passed, I was at work. My sister called me. I had to have somebody drive me home because I was so distraught. And I remember I kept saying, I swear to God, I'm going to kick his ass. This is not a good joke to play. Shouldn't be doing this. And when I got home, I had to wake up my husband and tell him. And I was sitting on the bed. My husband's in front of me, hugging me. And my nephew was standing right there. And he's like, I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He just kept saying that. I'm sorry.
Wow.
So most of the time, I see them right away. I also think, though, it goes with the spirit, what they are going through as well. You know,
Yes.
if they want to make that connection, if they're able to make that connection, you know, with them. I mean, I always tell everyone that sometimes it depends on their passing. Like say someone had cancer and it may have taken everything out of them. To, you know, before they pass, they may not have the energy to come through or come through in the way that you want them to come through.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing for me. And I tell my clients this, it's very easy when you know something innately and you were taught something by your team or by your guide, or you've learned something, to tell other people and to understand it as you're saying it to other people. I know that 2 of my 4 died very suddenly and very young of drug overdoses. So I know that now on the other side, they have these, I can't remember off the top of my head what exactly it's called. These healing processes, we'll call it, that they have to go through before they can even, you know, go anywhere on the other side, let alone to come back here. But for me, I still, like, my humanity needs to see them. And I was very fortunate where my whole life, I've had relatives pass away and I was sad about it, but knowing what I know, I wasn't too sad because I knew where they were going. When I turned 38, it was like boom, 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 boom. I had no like very close, very, very personal relationships with people who had passed, where I grieved. Like I grieved these 4 people. My stepfather, my best friend, who was also one of my son's fathers, another really close friend and ex-boyfriend, and then my other friend who passed of cancer. But for me, it's just like I do these little exercises at night, where I'm starting to be able to feel them, where I'll put out my hand and I will be bawling, you know, silently, because I sleep next to my 6-year-old, and I'll be like, just hold my hand, like if you're here. And I feel it. I feel it. But for me, because I can be watching a documentary about a murdered person, they pop up in my room, like I'm looking at my husband who's standing there. I want that. Like I'm so impatient with it. But I don't need a lot of other mediums in my personal life to be able to ask the question, like, do you struggle with that as well? Or is that just a me thing where like maybe I want it so bad that I'm not putting the right things out there? Or could it be really that it happens to a lot of mediums where it would be that way? I just don't know. you know.
Yeah. So
It depends
I
on the individual experience too.
right. It really just depends. I would say personally for you, I would say relax more and let it go. You know what I mean? Because when you want it more, your vibration
Yes,
gets
I'm
up
not
there
putting
and
out the
everything.
right frequency to bring them in. Yeah, that's I knew it.
And
I knew it.
and also there's lessons that you need to learn before they are going to come over. They're waiting on you to learn specific lessons.
Do you think if I
they come
went
over.
to someone like you for because Power Unity is coming up, my sister went to a medium last year and got connected with all these loved ones, and I was so upset I didn't do it. And then
Right.
you know, we had to leave. The line was so long I couldn't just jump in and wait another like 2 hours. Like that's my frequency though, for me to pull them in.
Right,
I
right.
think if I were to go to someone like you or somebody who offers that service and is able to do it, they would still be able to.
Right. I mean, it's always a possibility. I always say, nothing is guaranteed. Because how I do my readings is I tell everyone how it works, and I say we let people come through, and I always tell them also that if you had a fight with someone or you didn't talk to someone for 2 years and that person passed, you want nothing to do with them. You don't care if they come through, whatever, they still may come through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just best to let them come through, have their piece, their say and whatnot. You don't have to talk to them, but just let them, go about their business and everything. And then usually they're gone. But then after the reading, if there was someone specific that they wanted to talk to and that didn't come through, then I'll try to channel that person and see if they will come through. Like I say, it's never guaranteed.
I struggle through that too, because I have no problem again with random people popping in, but I don't specifically offer that service right now to channel, because I don't know if I'll be able to. And I think people really have that misconception that because you're a medium, you immediately see every single dead person that's ever passed ever. And if you don't see the specific person in this specific way, then you're a fraud. And I still have a lot of stuff attached to that. So Ghost, Ryan, I want to give you guys a chance to ask some questions as well. I know Ryan's got some.
I'm good right now.
Just listening. Just listening. What about that? I mean, you guys know me. I can sit here and talk all day. So why don't we get some chat questions in?
Talk all day. It's your show, Gemma. Talk all day.
It's our show. Cut it out. They're like, you're the girl. It must be your show. Does have my name on it.
I got a question.
It does.
Do you instantly pick up on people sometimes?
Oh, yes. Yes. And it's actually sometimes, because I'm very much an out there type of person, there's really nothing really to hold me back. So I see things, I catch up on people's vibrations, because I have literally only put up a boundary a couple times. I don't do it on a regular basis. I know people that do. That's just not me. So like, just for an example, I just saw someone the other day on their phone. I think we were at a vendor market, and right away, I'm like, I picked up, she had a bad breakup, and I wanted to go over to her right away and be like, honey, he is so not worth your time. Just put the phone down, block him. He's not worth it. But you can't do that. I mean, there has to be tact. There has to be respect in that, I mean, so, yeah.
Well, it's just that I see things that follow people. Is my main issue. I see a lot of things.
Steven's not a medium. He's what I think we'd call an observer, because he observes the attachments, the darkness, sometimes the spirits, I think, but I think more of just
things. Yeah. But I also pick up on people real fast too. And see, I have tried to block. I've tried to cut it out ever since I was a kid. And it won't let me. If you understand that, I've tried everything, because sometimes it gets to me. I mean,
we've tried together, and he's actually gotten a migraine to the point where he had to like lie down like for hours. I've tried to teach him these very small boundary techniques, right? To just, and he just got super sick. So one of the journeys that Ghost Dragons and I have together is to kind of remedy that. To like, for me, if I go to the grocery store, I'm putting boundary. If I go anywhere outside of my house, I live in the middle of nowhere. There's stuff everywhere. Especially like, you know, when people find out, they're like, oh, do me, who's with me? And it's for me, it just doesn't work that way. But I will pick up things. Like I use this example all the time. I'll walk into the Olive Garden. I know that the waiter, you know, beats his wife, and I know that those people are on a date, but they're both married to other people, and it's just like so much information that I had to learn very early on how to do that. So guys, my mom said her phone's not working too well, so if she's not responding or answering in chat, that's why. She's just here for Ryan anyway. We all know.
But yeah, that's always been a difficult thing for me. And
yeah, I saw you struggle through that personally
over the years. So now I just go with the flow. But I'd say over the past year, I've had a couple of NDEs. And the last one really triggered a lot of stuff. And now it's almost a daily basis. I have a hard time, you know, I do everything. I take care of a 90-year-old man. So I do all the running, all the hiding, you know, everything. I do everything. So it's hard not to go outside. And it gets crazy. And last year or so, it's become more intense, more darker. So I just wondered if you experienced stuff like that too.
I think that's the collective energy he's talking about.
Yeah. So, do you work with anyone? Like I'm talking, like I work with Hades, Persephone, and dragons and everything. Is there any deities or creatures that I'm know?
Christian,
okay, so that would be my first thing. Then is I would say to reach out, just meditate, and you know, call out to someone. Whoever wants to help you, to work with you, will come to you. Because I have had at least one incident that I remember with me working with, I work with at least 5 to 6 dragons, Hades and Persephone and Fae and all kinds of stuff. And when I've noticed that when there's an issue, when they know I need protection, they got it. Like I don't even hardly have to do anything. They put all that up for me. And so that's my suggestion, is to really reach out and see who wants to work with you. I know when I did have I had this ability to where I could sense and feel when people were going to pass. And I kind of didn't, I don't think I really acknowledged it. Like I knew, you know, but I didn't want to. And it wasn't until recently my cousin had passed that I finally acknowledged that. And I started sobbing, and I called on, like, because that's when I realized it was the aliens that had put that ability in me. And I said, you need to take it out, because I don't want it anymore. I don't.
Did they take it?
They did leave a little. So what it looked like to me was a silver string of light being pulled out. They left a small little strand, so it was in there in case if I wanted to use it again. They didn't want to take it totally out of me.
Right.
But since then, I haven't been able to really sense that or anything, and it's been a blessing, because that's just too much.
That's something I struggle with as well. I've had that ability. I didn't notice until, like, I would say 3 years ago that that's what it was. I never really like put 2 and 2 together. And again, like I never know if it was purposefully put on me, that I was meant to not put 2 and 2 together until a certain point in my life, or if it was just me just not really making the connection. And it freaked me out. And because for me, it was just like, how do I go up to someone and say that?
Yeah.
By the way, but recently, I saw it on someone very close to me, and the situation was that she was not only we all knew that, or she and I both knew that the reason she would die is because of an abusive relationship she's in. Like, I saw the whole thing play out, and I saw the death on her. I just blurted it right out in that case because I felt like she needed to hear it. But yeah, I wonder, I wanted to say ghost just for you. And I'll talk to you more about this outside of stream. But being a Christian is something I struggled with these abilities my entire life. And the one thing I'll do is with the goddess, with like Hecate or a goddess that I'm working with, for me, this is the distinction. And, nobody should get triggered by this. It's not a religious conversation. It's my personal experience. I worship Jesus in my faith because that's my faith. But when I'm doing work like this, I might give a burnt offering. I don't worship the deities I'm working with. It's not worshiping them. It's honoring them.
Right.
In a way.
Right.
Not
and there is definitely a distinction. Yes.
Right. It's not the same thing. And one thing from someone in chat, Nutslap, I really didn't understand your question, but it did remind me of something. So Nutslap said, I've heard the idea of most ghosts being the astral body that gets left behind, not the actual soul of the individual. I think he means earthbound spirits. What's the ghost ratio being astral body or actual soul? I read it. I understand it now, but it did remind me. It reminded me of like Aleister Crowley is said to have passed because his silver cord was cut while he was in trance, even though everyone said it was like a heart attack or something like that. So I guess what Nutslap is asking, and I don't think that's right. I don't think the information you have is correct. But maybe Joe knows or thinks something different. So what he's saying is when there's a ghost on Earth, what we would call, I believe, earthbound spirit, something that's left behind or a piece of someone's soul left behind, that it actually isn't because they were left behind when they passed or they stayed behind, but because the person was astral traveling. Do you know how many people would have to know how to astral travel for their spirit to? Yeah, Nutslap, you've been misinformed, I think, right? I mean, that would mean millions of people know how to astral travel and left their bodies behind. I mean, does it happen? Sure. In my experience and from what I've been taught, you can only astral travel or astral project for a certain amount of time before you have to get back in your body. You could die. Also, if somebody like what happened with that Christian group and Aleister Crowley, where they're focusing on cutting the cord while he's out of body, he did die. He never got to return. And I'm sure that happens. And I also know there are entities, shadow entities specifically, which, by the way, they terrify me because they used to try to compel me to like jump in front of trucks and bite wires. And they used to try to get me to hurt myself, possibly off myself, like most of my life. That's why I kind of took up arms and wrote a whole book about them because I wanted to know as much as I could. I know that they roam the astral plane a lot. I don't astral travel much on purpose. If it happens to me, it's by accident. I'm scared.
I have astral traveled, and my personal experience with it is that I've just, gone to the place and I feel like secure about it. Now, I'm very much like, as I say, I just wing it. So I just go with it. So when I do stuff, I don't do a whole lot of preparation to everything. I just do it. So I knew I had to be tied to myself, secured myself in that. But then I just thought of where I wanted to go and astral projected that way. The thing with spirits being earthbound, my thought on that is there's a reason why they are here. So it could be totally different than astral projecting. I would say if someone was left here by astral projecting, I would think it would have to be because someone else did something
Yes.
to where they
To trap them.
interacted with it. Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Because I have at least 6 spirits in my house. And one, I've been talking to a woman. She says that she's lived here for 600 years.
Wow.
So
Cool.
yeah, and
He's connected to the land then, right?
Exactly. And unfortunately, I cannot figure out. And the weird thing is, this is where I live. It's all like Native American stuff, but she does not. Now, the app I use for this, it's Spirit Talker. And when it comes across as
I use that
Google
too.
Voice.
Mhm.
But apparently you can change it in the settings. I have not figured that out because it doesn't show me how. But I know, even though she comes across Google Voice, but she isn't Native American. I'm not getting that vibe. I'm not getting that sense from her. I'm getting more like either English, French type, that type of
Really?
thing from her. Yeah. So I'm like, it has totally thrown me off, because when I did the math, I'm like 600 years. That's 1424. Like, I mean, like, how am I supposed to research that? So
Yeah. Sometimes you have to just take their word for it. And I know sometimes they also get confused, but I don't see that as, in my opinion, spirit confusion. I mean,
right.
they
Yeah. I
normally
just
do
want to
know
know,
what they're
like, I
talking
want to
about.
know, like,
You can't get the
where's she
history of it.
from? What's
Yeah.
the story behind it? Because now I'm intrigued. I'm like, and next, like I said, that's the second time, same person, 600 years. So I'm like,
Wow.
so now what I want to do, because every time where I'm sitting now, this is like my spirit area. And so that's where she said, what I want to do is I want to go, I have just under an acre of land, and I want to go to the backyard and see, because I have a really, really good feeling that once I go to the backyard, they're going to come across, and there's going to be like a pinpoint area.
Mhm.
So that's what I need to do now.
That's where most of mine that were in the home came from. Now, I have a very small son. He's in first grade, and he was having a hard time dealing with the abilities he caught. He caught. And I keep him open to things. I don't ridicule him or tell him anything he's experiencing is ridiculous, but I would rather him not be focusing on that, because that's a lot of extra stuff. So I did protections to kind of keep as much as I can out, and I just don't talk about it. My husband is very, 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 very closed. So I think even if he had an experience, he wouldn't even he wouldn't even be able to compute what it was. He would like rationalize it until it made sense to him. So we definitely don't see eye to eye there, and it would be even more confusion for my little guy. So I kind of just protected the property, but right beyond those lines, anytime I want to go, Ryan, when he first came on the show, I was talking to them about the deer woman who would come and stand right at the edge of the creek that goes through. And I was kind of scared, because I got like an eerie vibe, because I'd never seen anything like that before, except for in like American Horror Story,
Right.
So I didn't know anything. I don't know about, cryptids, or I'm familiar with a lot of fae beings. I wrote a book about the fae and how they could be connected to the missing phenomenon we have going on, but I'm not familiar with every single one, So a lot of the knowledge I gained through this community on this channel helped me in communicating with her. I found that she comes around when there's unfaithful men in the area, and that led to it helped in my life. They almost always help, whether it's giving you information, helping you align spiritually, taking something from you that you no longer need off of your soul. I've had help getting soul pieces back, and that type of stuff. And I have about the same amount, about an acre, maybe a little bit less. And I have the water runs through. It does attract a lot, both positive and negative, to my home. Not to mention my son and I, who are like these beacons. So I want to tell this story quick. I went to my mother and my stepfather before he passed a couple years ago. So I would say 3 years ago, they had moved into, maybe 4. 4 years ago, they moved into a new place in an old shore town here in Jersey that's very, very old. One of the first original towns, and kind of known, those old shore towns, Seaside Heights, Wildwood, even Avalon, like very known for being haunted, for lack of a better word. So we go there, my little guy and I, and I slept in bed with my mom, with my little guy, and my older son, who's about to be 20. At the time he was 17. So yeah, 3 years ago, his room was next door on the left side of my mom's room. And then my stepfather was sleeping to the room on the right of my mom's room, the guest room, to let me and my son sleep in her bed with her. And she had no issues. She had been getting an eerie feeling. My mom is very, very, she has a lot of the same abilities that I do, but my mom's never been encouraged to really work with them. And, she kind of just dealt with them her whole life without really dealing with them, if that makes sense. That boomer generation is really not big on this type of stuff. So though she believed in it, she didn't know what to actively do about it. So anyway, we're lying in bed and my little guy jumps up randomly out of nowhere and points to the bottom of the bed and just goes, and then lays back down and falls right back to sleep immediately. I'm like, okay, that was weird, because I hadn't seen anything. The night before, I had seen a shadow entity looming at the bottom of the bed, and I told my mom, I saw a shadow being. It didn't seem like it was malevolent or anything, but it was kind of lurking over the bed. It was a little creepy. She's like, I can't even deal with that. Like, I'm not going to entertain that. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So the second night that happened, within seconds, my mom is screaming at the top of her lungs. She jumps up. She's trying. I see her trying to run out of the room and being thrown backwards against the wall. And this happened 3 times. Now, my stepfather is a complete and total non-believer, more closed off. So all of this is happening. She's screaming. Now, my little guy, who had just been awake a few seconds ago, was sound asleep, did not move until this whole ordeal was over, and then jumps up and says, Mom, can I have some milk? I feel like something had put him out, first of all.
Right.
But anyway, my mom, she would not come back in the room that night. And my stepfather he came in, he's like, what was it? And my mom had said she had seen, now I didn't see this, and I don't know how, maybe I was half asleep and I wasn't really focused, but she had seen this like dog-like shadow going back and forth across the bed. And when she was looking, like, what is on my feet here at the bottom of the bed where my son had just pointed, this giant shadow being just leaned in to her face. So she jumps up and, she freaks out. So my stepfather comes in and he's like, what was it? And I'm like, I don't know. It was like an animal or something, meaning a shadow animal. A spirit. Right. He's like, a raccoon? Was it a raccoon? He's like, was it a spider? Like, he could not wrap his head around the concept that this was something paranormal. So I come to find out there's like a church across this street. There's a funeral home across that street. There's a house where a guy murdered his whole family over on this street. And I'm like, that makes perfect and total sense that between her, my little guy, my 17-year-old, who also has very significant ability, and myself, all in this house, we must have been like a light that just blew through the roof of the place. I lived with her on and off several times since then. I was never able to get rid of this thing. And I believe it was a jinn. It was my only experience ever with them. I did everything I could, and I got rid of everything else in the home. But this thing would leave for like 6 weeks. My mom would be like, oh, everything's great, and then she would make the mistake of, when I was coming for a weekend, she would be like, she's coming. And then this stuff would start up. I was in a rush one time, and this is the last thing I'll say. I only did the back, the right side, and the front of the house. And I was rushing because my husband was there. He didn't want me doing it. He was upset. So I'm like, let me hurry up and, clear the property real fast before we go. And I just didn't even do that side. Sure enough, 2 days later, my mom and my son both called me, and they're like, something is banging on the left side of the house, like from outside. So I just couldn't get rid of it. And I just wanted to tell that story because it was really, really scary. And it also, like, for me to just reiterate, like, we don't, just because we can communicate with the dead the way that we can, it doesn't mean we always have all the answers and we can always get rid of everything or call everything in. Like, we're not, it's a superpower, but it's not a superpower. Right. And I think enough people understand that because of what movies have turned mediumship into.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So what else, Joe? What else would you like to talk about or say or you know?
Let's see.
I've got a question.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
Let's hear
hey,
it.
you live in Wisconsin, so I have to know. I'm the cryptid guy. With your abilities, have you come into contact with anything like the Dog Man or anything along those lines?
The only thing that I came across, and it wasn't in Wisconsin because I was helping a paranormal team in Florida. And she had me on video chat. And so she's like showing me the house and everything in that. And she's in a bedroom and she goes by something. I said, oh, wait, go back. And I said, go up in the corner. It was in the corner of the ceiling. And I said, yeah, you got something watching you there. And I never like to use the word evil, bad. I don't want to, be freaking people out, but I'm like, it's not full of love and laughter and light and everything. I said, it's not going to move. It's watching you. I said, but it's not the greatest thing, And so I'm describing what I saw and everything. And it was like completely black. And was just like crouched and that, and like had that look on its face and everything. And so come to find out afterwards, because it definitely was not human. I knew that for sure. And after her and I both looked into it, because she's like, I saw it too. Right after I said that, she's like, I knew I saw something. And we believe it was a skinwalker. So yeah. And I was just like, oh, well, I'm like, well, that's interesting.
Don't mess with those.
Yeah.
Don't mess with them.
Is that normal for them to be in a home? I guess if they're connected to a person or to the land. So if they're connected
it depends.
To the land, and they're in a home, would they necessarily bother the people that are in the home if they're connected to the land? Probably, right? Because the person's all over their land.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, they would. They definitely would. Yeah, they're nothing to mess with, though.
Those things are something
I
never.
I
those in the black-eyed peas, I can't. Yeah, I got chills immediately when you said skinwalker. I was like, oh no, like no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I didn't know what it was. I just knew. I told them. I said it's definitely not human. That's all I can tell you. And told them how I described it and everything and that. And then her and I looked into it, and because I was Googling and sent them pictures of what I was seeing, and that's when she's like, yeah, that's a skinwalker. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, let's figure out how to handle this.
Was this person Native American in descent at all?
So the house, the paranormal team, not to my knowledge, they're not. And I don't believe the person that owned the house was. I can tell you that the house was like a portal, and the spirits felt very safe there coming through. And that skinwalker wasn't like moving or anything. He was literally just crouching there and observing. That's all. And I told them, I said, he isn't going to come out or anything. It really, to me, felt more like he just wanted to observe and see what they were going to do, to see if he had to take any action as to in what they were going to do.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I have a question from Miss Pixie. Yeah, thanks, Jason. She said, has Joe ever encountered an entity? So I don't know if you know Miss Pixie, but she's a psychic medium as well.
Okay.
Has Joe ever encountered an entity that looks like a black, opaque, moving mist?
Well, that's an interesting question, because actually I have.
Wow.
So she must be catching on to something there. Way to go, girl.
Like
so
a
it was
living oil slick. she says.
It to me it looked more like a black cloud, kind of like. So it was, God, let's see, we've been in this house 6 years. Oh, it had to be at least 20 years ago, 15 years ago, something like that. I was in my bedroom, and this was before I started doing anything with my witchcraft or doing anything publicly paranormal or anything like that. I was in my bedroom, sitting on the bed, and there was this, I'll say, like what she said, mist, kind of like a cloud. It wasn't as dense as like a cloud though. And it was over in the corner, and I feel like it got bigger as it started kind of coming towards me. And there was not a lot of space between me and this corner. So I instantly got freaked out because I was like, I had no idea what it was. And I just started saying the Lord's Prayer. That was the first thing that came to my mind. So I just said that. And then it started going back, and it ended up dissipating. And that was really all there was to it. It was definitely not a warm, fuzzy feeling coming from that.
That's creepy too.
Yeah, I definitely, and that was my thing, is I kept thinking, if it comes over enough by me to like attach itself or get close enough to where it could do that, I honestly thought that it was going to overtake me. And that was my thing. I was like, you gotta get away.
You know, I've seen something like that with two guys in a carry out, actually. That was, both guys had one attached. I mean, literally attached to them. And I can see it whispering in their ears. And both of them just look so evil. I mean, and I have to use the word evil because both these guys just oozed just evil. I mean, it was like, I was actually waiting for them to hold the store. But they got their things and left.
Wow.
But it was not a good feeling. I actually left. I put down what I was going to buy and left because I was totally creeped out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Pixie, I'll talk to my mom. I believe I remember her describing something like that. One more thing, and then I'm going to give the floor to Joe to list where we can find you and all of that stuff. Somebody said something I wanted to just quickly respond to. Roger, several of my family and I saw a shadow move through the house not long after my dad passed away 4 years ago. I mean, could be. I do know that in my experience in working with people and just my own personal experience, that most of the deceased souls that were human, so like our family members and friends and things like that, they don't normally appear in shadow. When I see souls that used to be human appearing in shadow, it's normally because they've become or were lower vibrational. I don't like the word evil, where they're trying to like throw me off their scent. They're trying to appear as a shadow entity, or they're presenting as something demonic to hopefully keep me away from figuring out that it's a spirit that I could, even if it's not so easy, eventually work with and cross it over. Right. Is that the same for you, Joe? Have you experienced many deceased people appearing in shadow?
I have not. All of my spirits come to me as how I'm seeing all of you. The only shadow thing that's ever appeared to me was what I realized. At first I thought it was a shadow person, but then it turned out it was Faye. So
yep.
So that was, and I had to ask some other people about that because I didn't work with Faye then. I didn't know anything really about them besides the general stuff. So then I realized about that. But otherwise, all the spirits come across as I'm seeing you, except for so my nephew David that I was telling you about earlier, he came to me like that. Now, I mean, like I said, it was 2006. So we're going on almost 20 years now that he's been passed. Now he comes across in the form of music. So anytime, and it does, he played the drums when he was alive. I have a tattoo of him on my leg with drums and everything. And even though he played the drums, it's not just drums. Like it'll just be a guitar riff or it'll be a little something. And I'm always like, "Hi, Dave, how you doing?" So, yeah.
That's so crazy you said that, because I remember being in Kohl's, and I said to two of my two that died of the overdoses suddenly, I was like, guys, like, you don't want to visit me, that's fine, but like, I've got earbuds in and I got my music on a shuffle and there's 1,000 songs to choose from. Just play me some music. And I swear for the next hour, it was just song after song that I hadn't heard in years, and that the two, like me and that one listened to, then me and that one listened to.
Mhm.
And I did know that day, I even said it to my mom, I'm like, I can't believe, that actually worked. And I had
Right.
actually forgotten about that until you just said it. So I do have to end it exactly 2, guys, because I only have an hour to get the little guy off the bus. But I want to let Joe please give your information, where we can find you if you offer services, a great way to contact you if you have a YouTube channel or TikTok or anything like that.
So I don't have YouTube, but I'm going to get it because it keeps popping up that I need to do a YouTube channel. So I'm going to do that. Yes. So right now I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Facebook is my big one. I'm on there like all the time doing lives and everything. And you can always reach out to me for any questions. Like I said, I help out with paranormal teams. I also do investigations myself. I do mediumship, psychic, tarot readings, but if there's something that you want help with that I haven't said or you don't see on my page, please feel free to reach out to me and ask me about it, because I'm not afraid to try something new if it's, within reason or anything. So.
Okay, so you would prefer people contact you through Facebook Messenger or
You
email?
you can contact me through Facebook Messenger. Like I said, I'm on Instagram and TikTok too. I just primarily check my Facebook more than the other ones, although I am on TikTok quite a bit too. just scrolling,
I know. I just recently started a TikTok just to get the 1,000 followers to start trying to do the mediumship stuff over there, see how it goes.
Yeah.
So I definitely can relate to that. I stopped using Facebook Messenger because of who I call the feet people, and that's people like wanting pictures of my feet. It just happened so much that I was just like, I'm not using this anymore.
Weird.
So it's just can't do it. Email me or text me. Joe, thank you so much for coming on with us.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for having me. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, I would love to have you on again. I'll definitely stay in touch with you and reach out if you need anything. Thank you so much.
Great. Yeah.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, anything to add?
No, I'm good.
All right, Ryan, we'll see you next week. And because I have a dogman encounter I wanted to go over with you. Some guy says he shot one and blew its head off, but he didn't actually blow it. I don't know. It was weird. But I would love to pick your brain about it, but I'm going to do it publicly.
Absolutely. Okay.
All right. Bye.
Good.
Thank you, guys. I'm glad you enjoyed our time with our guest, and I want to start having more guests on here, and that was just fantastic and amazing. Thank you guys for hanging out. Ghost, I'm going to call you right after we end here. Bye.